My name is Angel Robinson. I'm from New York, but I live in New Jersey, and I'm here because I support what Ron Paul is trying to do. I found out about Ron Paul in 2007, and I think since then I've changed the way I live my entire life, the way I raise my kids. And what inspires me is that I know that's probably happening across the entire country, and I think it's for the better. I think people are starting to think about how we should live with one another, and it's not just a seasonal thing or a political thing. People are really thinking philosophically about what it means to be not just an American, but what it means to be an individual and to live amongst other people and to live in a peaceful and prosperous society. And I'm glad to be a part of that with Ron Paul. I might have been an Obama supporter. I was definitely a Democrat, and that's my background. I defaulted into that party. But Ron Paul said, I watched the debates in 2007, and Ron Paul said something like, they don't hate us because of our freedom, they hate us because we've been over there. And that was the first time I'd heard anything that made sense to me. That, I could grasp onto it logically and reason out why 9/11 was happening, because it was so close to me. I live in New York. I was emotionally affected by it. And this provided an explanation. And if we want things like this not to happen, then we need to take a realistic approach to it, realize what's happening around the world, how people perceive us, and try to have better relationships. It's what we do in our families. You try to look at things honestly, figure out where you went wrong as well as where they went wrong, and then you change your behavior. And Ron Paul is talking about that. And I'm okay with taking a look at myself and saying, what am I doing wrong? And how can I make my relationships better with other people, even if they're not like me? Absolutely no sense in voting for things that you don't believe in. You don't win. I think a lot of people feel like they need to win an election. If your ideas don't win out, what really have you won? I want my ideas to win out. I want my values to win out. And that can't happen if I'm always just looking at who the media tells me is the most electable person. I'm going to decide for myself. I'm going to figure out who is speaking truth to power, who's talking about the things I believe in. And I feel like for a lot of people, what Ron Paul is saying is what they believe in, and all they need to do is have the faith that it's, even if we don't win the election, you support these values and you can maybe bring something into fruition. Maybe you can make this happen, not just for yourself, but for the whole country. So screw who's electable. I'm voting my principles every day, all day. Yeah. Vote for Ron Paul, and even if you don't, listen to what he has to say, because these are really important things, and like I said, it goes beyond this election cycle. We are trying to change the way we interact with each other and we interact with the world. And there's all these other candidates, and sometimes they seem completely reasonable, and sometimes they seem like the most electable people. But the question is, are they inspiring anyone to think beyond this election cycle? Are they inspiring anyone to change who they are and what they think? And I feel like Ron Paul does that more than any other candidate. Look at all the Democrats who come over to his side, and they don't come over and remain Democrats. They change the way they think about things. They go, oh yeah, I'm for charity, but I don't think that the government ought to be forcing people to do that. And that's what conservatives want. So embrace him, because he is changing the way people think. And I don't think you're going to get that with any other candidate. If you can't point to it, I haven't seen it, but I know lots of Democrats who've come over to the Ron Paul side. I know lots of them, and I'm one of them. I'm an example of how you change, and you pass that on to your kids, and they pass it on to their kids, hopefully. So it's something lasting. It's not just an election season phenomenon.